So you want to turn a cup and ball game. Alright, so for your cup and ball game, we need to drill a hole for where the cup is going to go before we start turning the project. So I'm going to take a square and I'm going to draw on it corner to corner so I can find the center of both the front, or both the top and the bottom. Okay. I've chucked up in my drill press the 1 1/8" spur bit. The reason I'm using 1 1/8" is because our ball is 1 inch. If you want your game to be easier, you drill a little bit bigger hole. If you want it to be impossible, you drill a 1 inch hole or a 7/8" inch hole. Then nobody will ever be able to get the ball in. Alright, I've got my fence adjusted so that I'm lined up right in the center here, almost. Okay, I want to get a clamp to hold this side, and then I'll drill it through. I want to make sure I drill it at least 1 inch, a little over 1 inch deep. Alright, quick edit. I told you 1 1/8" spur bit in order to drill the hole in the end of your board. Well, 1 1/8" doesn't fit on our jig. 1 1/2" is what you need. Alright. We're going to put the faceplate with our peg on there. Make sure you don't push on this too hard because you'll break it. Alright, we're going to bring the tailstock up to support it, and we're going to use the tailstock to tighten it down. This is the headstock, it makes it turn. This is the tailstock, it holds up the other side. Alright, I always start on the end of my project and round it out. By this point in my class, you should have already done a rounding out project, and so I'm going to cut that out. Alright, so I'm going to come back when this is round. Alright, I'm bringing you back because I've almost got it all the way rounded out. There's one important thing I need to do before I get going too far on this project. Alright, I'm going to put my head or my tool rest right up here near the top because I'm going to turn this end first and then I'm going to turn the handle. But I need to pull this off, and on my tool rest I need to mark where the end of my jig is. That way I know where the bottom of the hole is in my cup and ball game. The very first one I made, I turned the cup off because I was going too far, and so right here is my bottom of my cup. I didn't drill quite deep enough, it looks like. That should be at least 1 1 1/8", if not 1 1/4" right there. Alright, but it should still hold the cup if we're fine. That's the bottom of my cup. I'm going to turn this very top part. I'm looking at the end here and I can see how thick my cup is. I don't want to get it too thin because it'll break, and I don't want to get too close to that line. I want to get a little bit away from that line before I start to curve down for my handle. I went and grabbed this. Here we go. Before I start turning down my handle, I want to move away from the cup. Alright, so I don't accidentally cut it off. Alright. That's nice and smooth. I sharpened up my chisel. I got a decent cup thickness. I like it. I can still see my pencil line here, so I'm going to draw that back on and make sure I don't cut the cup off because it'll ruin my project. I'll be done with it from there on. Alright, you can use any tool you want. I'm just going to use mostly just this gouge. I've grabbed the smaller spindle gouge in case I want it, but I think I'm going to be able to do the whole thing with just this. Alright, especially if I don't try to get too fancy. I'm going to smooth the whole thing out so it's at most that size, and I'm going to put a nice little handle on it. trouble with this size of that one there, so I'm going to switch over for just this last little part here. I'm going to touch up the end of this with the smaller spindle gouge, make it a little bit shorter on the bottom side. Alright, touch up the top of the cup. I don't want it to be too sharp a corner on the top edge there. I've monkeyed it up right here. I let it get too small. So instead of finishing this on the lathe, I was going to put a little burn mark on it. I can show you that later. I'm just going to take this off, cut that off on the bandsaw or break it off and hit it on the sander, and this cup and ball game will be done with the lathe part.